So, but like if people want to keep asking questions in the chat and stuff, that would be very helpful because I don't really want to sit here and like lecture you on boring things. I'd rather just like answer questions. It sounds more fun. So yeah, like the first thing I thought I'd show is just like really simple, but it's like using I like use a vocoder for percussion all the time. I like how you can kind of like seamlessly like blend between like breaks. It's generally what I'm running through it, but yeah, like seamlessly blend between like breaks and or percussion, and then like this kind of like white noise using the audio is just like an input. So like stuff like this, it's like super simple. Like this stuff. Obviously like I'll normally like chop that up further and stuff, but like the basic technique that I do for that is just like grab an amen. The one thing that's in my like favorites thing is an 808. Fucking hell, that's loud. An amen, and then a limiter, which I feel like is a good thing to have. But yeah, if you just like grab yeah, that'll do. So yeah, I've obviously like got that like vaguely in time. And literally all I'm doing with it is like grabbing like probably something that doesn't have any kicks or whatever, like this sort of thing, and then just like looping that a little bit, and flattening it, and using this beats warp mode on like play once and stop. So like it'll just like yeah, I assume everyone knows what this mode does, but like it plays every transient, but then it just stops. Like it doesn't loop them at all, so you don't get any like stretching. So yeah, you can just like you can like trim it down like this. This is a really terrible loop. Sorry about that. But yeah, so you've got stuff like this, and then like something with like a short transient like that is really good for like feeding into a vocoder, like this, and you can just adjust the release, and well, you can adjust all the parameters, unsurprisingly. But yeah, I use this all the time. I use it in both tracks on the All Center EP, which I might play later, because they're obviously not out yet, and maybe that would be contextually kind of useful. But yeah, I generally do this, and with percussive stuff, I tend to find like having the formant kind of shifted a bit higher gives like a nice kind of like yeah, a nice like crisp sound. But I always find like the high end on the vocoder is a bit gross sometimes, like on its own. So I used to just like filter it, but now like pretty much every time I do this, I just use decimal, which is like a bit reduction thing, because it's I say this every time. Yeah, it's the stock Ableton vocoder. I don't use anything else. Uh, just that. But this isn't Ableton. You can use Ableton's Bit Crusher effect, whatever it's called, but it's kind of like bit reduction thing, but it's not very like musical sounding. I guess you could use like erosion to do this, but yeah, what I tend to do is just like sort of like bring this down a bit. Just like kind of filters sound a little bit as you reduce the Sorry. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this is what I tend to do. I just find it sounds like more musical that way. But I also use this technique a lot on like synths and stuff like that. It's really good for um, like you can like subtly like put maybe I don't know like 10, 20% wet on like a synth part that you have, which I think I've done here as well. Um, can anyone else hear the door? It's quite important. Have you clicked the link? Uh, yeah, that's probably a good shout. Um, yeah, yeah. Sorry. So you can do it on synths, which I do quite a lot as well. Just to like, I find if like a synth's not like cutting through a mix, you can just put like put like 10, 20% wet on that and kind of dial in the performance and stuff like that, and you kind of have this like very musical like white noise thing that follows the kind of rhythms of the synth that you're playing, or you can just like use it kind of completely like 100% wet for like great for immediately designing like rises and stuff like that. So these kinds of things, which I use all the time. So like these original sounds are just like it's just so I make these sample chains where I basically when I'll just open the project and I'll just put like one note like a C, just repeating like every bar, and I'll just like do loads of I'll either like change the synth parameters or like I'm basically like constantly resampling until I get these like long chains, and I just like keep the information like BPM, what note it is. So I made these quickly earlier, but they're not particularly interesting. It's the same thing. It's just this one's been time stretched out, but they're just these like little random hit things. Um, they're quite boring. When I'm doing that kind of resampling stuff, I'm just trying to make one shots basically, but I'm really lazy. So I never like chop them out into one shots. I just leave them in these long chains, and then I have them in like folders, like 20, 21 samples, and it's just like, oh, these ones have been chopped. But I don't know, like any of these other ones is like unchopped sample chains. But yeah, so like what I'll often do for like designing risers and shit like that is yeah, just use this like use the vocoder, often like completely wet. You can imagine if you like reverse these, it's a great riser. If you leave it as is, it's like an impact or whatever. But obviously you can start like blending in the original signal as well. So often like if I've got like a main chord stab or synth hit or whatever it is like in a track, I'll often use that as the input for the vocoder, and then like blend in some of the original signal so that it's like inky and it sounds good, and it kind of just like ties the track together well. But yeah, so like you just like it's really simple. This one's just got a vocoder on it. You can quite often I'll like increase the range so you get like all of that like all the high frequency content I just said that I didn't like. I like to make sure that's in there for some reason. And like you can adjust the amount of bands in the vocoder. I don't really like more than 20. Sounds really like especially like 40 gets like quite a lot of like kind of glitchy effects I find. But it sounds really cool if you like bring it down to like 4 or like 8 bands. You get like much like kind of grittier hits, which I really like. I guess it kind of has a similar effect to just like using the like bit reduction and like um, that kind of stuff that I was doing back here with Decimal. Like this all this kind of stuff like it's basically just using it as filtering, but I'm not using a filter. I think it works really well on like the kind of white noise that the vocoder's kicking out. So yeah, like you end up with like stuff like this, but then also I do this a lot, and these are great like individual percussion kind of hit things that if I froze this, I won't pretend that I'd like cut it into one shots, but you could definitely do that. And I think they're like really good, like layered underneath like more kind of like standard percussion stuff. It's like a really easy way to add like high frequency content to your percussion without like really changing the sound of it too much, I guess. So that's those first two things, just the vocoder stuff. That's a good shout. To be fair, like I'm pretty sure I posted this folder in the Discord in the instruments and samples thing. So if you just want to skip all of these steps and just like chop the one shots out yourself, like it's already there. You don't need to actually do any of this. um, but yeah, the next thing that I was going to cover was these like risers, because everyone always asks about my risers. Like, yeah, everyone I talk to is always like, "Damn, your risers are so sick." I can't get away from it. Everyone's always saying how amazing they are. But no, like people ask about it, and like I pretty much do the exact same thing for every single like riser or like drop sound, like tension build, whatever fucking thing in a track. I pretty much always do the same thing. Um, so first thing is literally just like a a riser, like completely dry, white noise. I use this one, riser effects dot wow. I use it in every single track. Every single one. You can make them. They're really easy, but I always use this one. I like it. And I just layer it with a few other things. Obviously, like that on its own is like pretty cheesy, in a good way, but like not maybe the most interesting thing. Then I often use these orchestral risers. I think Joe Craven sent all of these to me. These like this orchestral pack, and it's exactly the same thing. I'm just like taking these long these long riser samples and layering them up. Basically, like I'll like sometimes put different effect. Like I will always put like reverb on them. Generally, like a short reverb on my risers, because yeah, like I like having reverb on my risers, but like obviously when in like I'll often like to leave like a bar of space or like half a bar, and like a lot of my time making tracks is like figuring out the right kind of like tension and like fade and stuff on these like in between sections. So I don't really like having like long reverbs on any of this stuff because like it just messes with the like tension and release of the track, and I like to be more precise about like dialing in like a like pre-drop tension thing. But yeah, so like those obviously those two together, like I might pan them a bit, but those two together, it's generally like one's more like white noise focused with a bit of a filter sweep, and the other one's starting to get some kind of like not melodic. It's like obviously they're very atonal, but like some like more distinguishable sounds that aren't just noise. Then oh well yeah, so I was talking about the vocoder synth thing. Um, that's it. It's just like one of them that I've resampled and chopped out. Here, I've just stretched it out to like what, like 4 bars on repitch mode. So it's like this kind of like long, low, slow kind of riser. that sits under everything else. Yeah, so I guess my rises technique is just like lots of layers of everything. And then, you know, maybe there's like maybe there's an impact, maybe there's not, who knows. And the final thing that I pretty much always do is some kind of like vocal element or again like a melodic. I'm really into like just resampling my own track it back into the project. So like some kind of melodic element or vocal from the track, like basically take one snippet and then like really fucking stretch it. I'll often use Actizer. I don't know if anyone I assume people use this, but it's a free like standalone plugin that you can get on Windows and Mac. You can't open it as a plugin. It's like literally just like a small thing, but you can yeah, there we go. So I posted it in the chat. But it's basically like the like Akai rack sampler, like what S3000XL, whatever style. It's like jungle time stretching. That's what it is. It takes it and it makes it sound like you own an obtuse piece of like digital like a sampler. It's and it's that classic like jungle stretching sound. So if I grab literally anything, why don't we keep it relevant? I'll grab a yeah. Why am I taking a long time to pick something? It really doesn't matter. Why don't we go for a snare? We'll go for the snare. We'll go for this snare, right? If you just like drag this in, oh shit, it doesn't work like that. You just like oh, this is going great. If you drag this into here, and then you have a time factor and like a transposition. I don't know what the cycle length does. I don't think I've ever adjusted it. You could probably look at the manual, but I'm not going to do that. The time factor is like the percentage that you're going to time stretch it by, and then the transpose is like self-explanatory. Yeah, you can drag from the Ableton file tree. I would click play, but it's not actually going to do anything because that's not how the stream's set up. So I better just yeah, I've got a whole folder. I just saved them all in here. Oh shit. Did I exit it before it finished? No, I think it's fine. No, maybe not. Oh, it did work. Okay, cool. So yeah, then somewhere here, yeah, Akai's examples. I could have just, I didn't really need to like do a new sample because I've just done this so many times. But okay, so this is right. Like I feel like that's gonna be really loud when I play from the like Finder thing. I hope it's not really loud. But yeah, so like that snare versus what was it originally? Like this thing, right? Just that big like it sounds fucking sick. But yeah, so like I'll often use that to like really stretch out a riser thing. I'll probably have already like faded it and stuff as like an impact, and then I'll just like run it through that, really stretch it out, and then reverse it and use it as a riser. But yeah, here. Stuff like that. Basically, that wasn't through Ackizer, but it's the same kind of thing. So all I've done with that is like grab an acapella. Yeah, let's go for this one. Why not? So
yo,
yeah, just grab like one hit of the vocal.
Yo.
Yeah. Just like consolidate that, flatten it. And I'm like control shift clicking to like stretch this in here. And it's I nearly froze that. That would have been great.
Yo.
Still, this is annoying. Go away. You fucking deleted. Whatever. I'll just do it in here as well. Like,
Yo.
so like, yeah, you can stretch it out, add watermarkers and stuff, and then I'm just like, yeah, keyboard shortcuts are really, really good. I just switched from Mac to PC, and I feel like I work about half as fast. There's buttons that like you change the grid from here, but they're different. And I can't now. I have to right click and like change the. I feel like an idiot. But yeah, so you can stretch this out. So you get these really cool like stretch out vocal things. Beats is great, but you can also use like tones and texture for like similar results. Like kind of like Seb Galiza, whoever engineers their vocals, uses like those two, like maybe a bit too much, but it's sick. So whatever. I wish you could automate these easier rather than like it's surprising to me that Ableton doesn't let you like automate all of these with like LFOs and shit, even in 11. I feel like it's a massive oversight because I spend a lot of time like warping shit in here. But yeah, it's fucking sounds like that, and then all you need to do is like to make that like pitch rise effect. Like that is to yeah, again, I assume a lot of people know this, but you click this button and click clip envelopes and then transposition, and then you get a little thing, and you can do clip automation in here. It won't work very well on Beats mode, so yeah, I missed a crucial step. It won't work out well on Beats mode because of the way that it time stretches it and like slices it. So I'm just flattening this. As you can see, obviously, like this waveform looks like nearly identical to the other one. So I've obviously done like a very similar process. But then you can just put this onto like complex mode or something, and it'll do a nice little. Sounds cool. Maybe put like a little fade in there, like a little. Yeah. So that's it, and then you layer it all up together, and it sounds like a big riser. You gotta then put like then you spend ages figuring out like the reverb and delay times on it all and putting it all out into space. But it sounds really crazy, complex and detailed, but it's not really actually doing anything. And like I said, like using like resampling my own track back into the risers and stuff is I think it just sounds good. And it's like another layer of like complexity. And I just really like that process of just like resampling over and over and over, deeper and deeper into the project. But yeah, I'll stop for 2 seconds, have a drink. If anyone has any questions, now's a good time. But if you don't, that's also cool. I make these ahead of time. So that's kind of, I have a really messy workflow. And it kind of all bleeds into one. But Generally, anything that's in, well, obviously anything that I'm saving into these like sample folders is made ahead of time because I don't like doing any like sound design. But I don't like having really any MIDI in my writing projects for like synths and stuff like that. I try and flatten down to audio as quickly as possible. I don't like doing like proper sound design. Like I don't want to open Serum up in whilst I'm writing, anything like that. Um, so sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, shit. So like apparently I didn't remember what I was talking about. I make them ahead of time. Yeah, sure. So like I don't want to open like Serum or anything like that when I'm writing because it just bogs me down, and I find that by the time I've finished like fiddling with the sound, I've kind of forgotten what I was making in terms of the track. So I like to have everything pre-made as like a sample pack of shit for me, and like generally like I'll do like separate sound design sessions, and then often they'll kind of seamlessly blend into writing because I've obviously been like inspired to write a song based off of like the sound design sessions. Or if I don't have any inspiration, I'll just like go into one of the long like sample chains, like Ableton resampling, like one of these like um, resampled perk. Oh, that's actually, yeah, that's funny. All right, yeah, something like this. Like I'll try and find inspiration based out of like one of these things. Like so I'll just try and chop one of these into like a thing and then replay it. I can go through some of the chains in a bit. I'll leave that one in the project. And or did you mean the ones that like the sound designing chains? Because I will be like doing how I make one of the chains in a bit. But yeah. So yeah, but in the case of like the risers, like that doesn't really slow me down anymore because it's very formulaic to me now. I know kind of how I want to do it, and obviously because I'm resampling the sounds of that song, I kind of already know which samples I'm going to use to make the riser or to like make the hit. So I tend to do that in the project, but like I try and it doesn't really seem like sound design to me because like it's quite formulaic. Maybe I should change it up and stop doing it. But yeah, but then like bulk sound design, I like to keep as um, separate from writing as possible. What's the advantage of consolidating to those audio sections? If you mean like, what's the advantage of like flattening down all my stuff, like as I'm working and trying to get away from MIDI as much as possible? It's a few things. I don't find MIDI very inspiring. Um, the music that I make is quite textural, I guess. And I find that MIDI is like quite feels quite limiting. So I'll like write stuff, like I'll write melodies and like drum patterns in MIDI, but I want to flatten down and get away from it as quickly as possible because it just I just don't really like the process of doing it. The other thing is like warp modes. Like pretty much every sound in my project is going to go through some kind of like warping, and I want to get that done early because I just want to be in control. Like when you warp stuff, you start introducing like glitches and like um, extra texture basically, and I like being in control of when that happens. I want it, but I want like I'm just holding some deodorant. Um, yeah, I want to be in control of when that happens. So like there's certain processing that I'll do before certain types of stretching and warping, and there's certain processes I'll do after. I really like the clip envelopes that you can do. Um, yeah, I also really like I prefer the sound of like a pitched down sample to like and you controlling how that is pitched down using the beats, using the like sample mode more than I like just playing like a lower octave, even if it's on simpler or whatever. I feel like that's a really long answer. And then yeah, basically just consolidating. Did I save a project before flattening to go back just in case? Pretty much never, no. I will like duplicate a channel sometimes, and my projects often have like a little folder, like old ink with things, and like maybe I'll keep that, so like just like news. My would like there's there's like a complex MIDI melody or something like that. I say complex, like I'm writing complex shit. No, but like if there's like a MIDI melody that I'm like maybe in the future I would want to maybe do like a counter melody or like a variation on that, I might do it. But it might go into the bank at the top, and I'll just like make a group of you know a group of things up here that's just like my bank that I might go back to, but never really. Like I've stopped doing that. I rarely do that now, to be honest. I rarely keep stuff. I just want to keep moving forward. I don't really care if I lose the original thing. Even if the original thing was better, I would probably got on board with it by that point. So yeah, it's just kind of keep going, which tends to mean that a lot of my projects will end up with like 4 different arrangements like across here, and I'll like delete the old ones after a while, and the original track never really manifests itself. It'll be something completely different, but I can't remember what it sounded like before, so forget about it. Yeah, so yeah, destructive editing is like more inspiring to me. It makes more sense. It's more fun. Ableton just kind of feels like a big video game to me when I'm having fun doing it. It just kind of feels like a puzzle to work out. So yeah. Moving on. The next thing that I have been using a lot for sound design is a plugin called Rips, which if I unfreeze these one, I think those two is fine. Yeah. So Ribs is basically this. Ribs is granular synth, granular sampler, like effect plugin. Like you can use it as like a standalone, like you can use it to process like a sound, but as like an insert plugin. But I think it's a lot more fun to basically, I won't bore you with the MIDI and audio routing, but to basically take an audio input and feed that into the buffer of Ribs, which is this thing here, which you can adjust the size of. So this is a pre-recorded audio that's been fed into the buffer, and these are all different buffers, but using one to keep it simple. And then basically like sequencing the audio that's played in the audio that's been recorded into this buffer, you can then sequence with MIDI. So I've just got like a oh yeah, so I'm doing this like kind of more complex pattern here where the there's an arpeggiator where the rate of the arpeggiator and the steps are being automated. I thank you for posting that. Yeah, it's free as well. I forgot to mention that. It's free for Mac and Windows, and it's really great. It's quite an obtuse workflow. But again, like I said, like when I'm having fun on Ableton, it kind of feels like a puzzle to work out. So like a couple of months back, I like sat down and kind of tried to learn about this. But rather than talking about it, so quickly actually just play the original audio is the original audio I think is from like maybe Bloodborne or Dark Souls, probably Dark Souls 1. It's just like ripped from the game files. Pretty standard. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you expect it to sound like. But when you feed that into that channel, maybe. Wait, no shit. It's a completely wrong thing. When you feed it into, yeah, that makes more sense. When you feed it into ribs, when I start playing this, it's not gonna do anything with it. What's the sound? Oh yeah. Doesn't that sound great? Yeah, if I like. So yeah, basically what's happening is, as this is playing, every time a MIDI note is fed into ribs, not only does it play that MIDI note using the internal buffer, but not only does it play the synth using that internal buffer, it also re-records what's in that internal buffer, so you can change the length of the buffer, but as you can see, like every time a note comes in, it's getting a new piece of audio to granularize and step back out. It's got a few different modes. Note mode is the granular mode, so it will take these. You can see this tiny buffer right here, the white line. It's taking that tiny slice and then spitting it back out as like as a note based off of the incoming MIDI signal. And you get some really cool effects with it. It's got a filter in it. You can get like really glitchy stuff. You can start introducing a lot of the parameters over here are like introducing like wobble and the probability of like glitches and stuff coming into the audio. This thing, the play rate affects like how like the speed of the playback of the sample, and you can like when it's on the left hand side, this is like playing the sample in reverse and all that shit, and it's really complex, but it's also something that once you kind of get the gist of what it's doing, you can just kind of fiddle about with it. So maybe if I take like, I think yeah, in here probably yeah. So there's a load of LFOs and shit effects on here. And this is but if I go back to the MIDI and like. You can actually get like musical like arpeggios and stuff out of it, but you can do these really like complex, big, like evolving pads. And then there's this whole thing where the sequencer, you can change the like you can change these like ratios and change it like per note and stuff like that. And it's all very cool, but it's more, I guess it's more now just a product demo of, I think Ribs is cool, but use it a lot. Shit, I'm just going to delete them. So the one thing I was going to do, come back. Yeah, sweet. The thing that I really like about it is you can, I really like how like you can like really seamlessly transition between sounds like using it, more specifically like between like melodic and like percussive sounds, and you can kind of blend them, and it sounds really good in a track when like this like percussive sound that almost sounds really similar to like the vocoder shit that I was doing earlier, when that suddenly like kind of falls away and you're left with like a melodic thing. It sounds really good. So these internal external error things can obviously you can hear like you can make like these kind of like hi-hat sounds very easily. But as soon as I start bringing these back down, sounds pretty cool. I really, yeah, I use it. I've been using it a lot, just to like, yeah, do that kind of like blend between, it's an arpeggiated, it's like an arpeggiated something, and oh no, it's like the hats, and it kind of like flicks between the two. It's also really sick. Like if you put like the input sample isn't just like noise, like I've got it. If you put it as like a whole song or as like a cappella or something like that, it works really well. And you can use it to kind of chop, and like it does. If you put it onto the notes mode, or sorry, if you put it onto the fucking hell. I'm gonna move on from this in a second. But if you put it onto a different mode, you can use it more to like chop like rhythmically samples out of a long list. I'm not talking about any track here. I'm just talking about sound design in general. How is it on the CPU? I don't know. I think it's fine. Uh, yeah. The reason these are frozen is because there's like loads of duplicates of the same LFOs running at the same time, and I didn't know if that was going to be okay with the stream. But it was still only maxing at like 50, 60% when I had them running together, but I didn't want to. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna move on from this. But that's Ribs. Just to check it out, just quickly, I guess. Like some of the stuff that I made with it is in here. I know a few people from CXD really liked this piano sample that I made with it. So like that's from taking like a whole track and then just like chopping this one chord out of it using Ribs, but you can get these really cool glitchy things happening at the same time. But yeah, I'm gonna get rid of that. Oh, these next two bits are just I started like kind of arranging a track, but here is the kind of bulk of like what I do sound design wise. So when I was talking about like doing sound design sessions and how I like to keep them separate from writing, like this is what I'm doing in a standard sound design session. So I guess I'll just start at the top. I don't know what this is. Oh, yeah, that's like the worst thing I could have started with because that's like a result. So we won't start at the top. We'll start with texture. Okay, so this is like a standard resampling setup for me. The length of the notes, the length of the notes in here, like are always dependent on like what I'm making. But this is me like making the standard like shit that I'll reverse for impacts and rises, shit that I'll use for like chop out for one shots for like kind of weird like what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of I actually can't think what the word is. Percussion with really short delay on it is what I'm going to call it right now. But yeah, so the basis of these tracks is like I like to keep like I like the input signal to be like super simple. So sometimes it'll just be a sine wave. Other times it might be something like this. This is literally just operator with like this, and then this is modulating the other the other sound like slightly. So this is the kind of input, and then what I do is open these really long chains. This is it's gonna make it crash. No, sweet. But yeah, like basically these long effects chains. This isn't particularly bad, but I just start piling shit on top of each other and then assigning different parameters to the macros. So like this one isn't particularly bad, but like sometimes I'll just assign everything to one macro and then like adjust the ranges and like invert certain ones and stuff. So it's like completely random and like I don't really know what I'm changing when I'm got just like one of these things. I don't really know what I'm changing when I change the knobs. Or other times I'll kind of like sort of group some of the stuff together. So like obviously you can see like filter stuff has like a vocoder and two auto filters, and they're being adjusted whenever I adjust this macro. So yeah, this is kind of like an end result thing. I just automated these because I thought it shut up, man. I thought it would be easier to explain if I just automated them, but obviously like normally I'll be like twisting the knobs and yeah. This is what a sample chain is to me. It's just me modulating all of these, and then just like having a channel underneath with the input being texture resampling and just going like, shit, I think I maybe switched the limiter off. I don't know what's there. Oh, let's just that's enough of that. So I'll end up with stuff like this, which is like the useful part about it is if I do it properly and I'm not lazy with it, all of the samples are going to be on grid. So I'll save the sample as like 140 BPM and like the root note and then like what subdivision all of the hits are at. And so obviously it gets a bit messy when like the delays happen and stuff, but I know that I can like I can drop this into a project and just like slice them out all really easily because they're all like on grid. This is a really bad example because it's not. I think it's because of the stream giving me latency, but I'm gonna pretend it's not happening. But yeah, it's like so yeah, you get these things, and obviously like it's like really easy to turn something like that into a riser, but then it's also equally as easy to turn that into some percussion or something like that. So I guess like what the actual plugins are in something like this, I use Serum Effect. So this is just like the built-in effects of Serum as like a standalone plugin. The flange filters are all really good. They're all great, and I just generally just have that on with like really high resonance and automate the cutoff. So to be honest, like 90% of the like squelchy shit that's happening in this patch is literally just that. It's yeah. I use Ableton's LFOs a lot as well. Generally on random with smoothing turned all the way up because it's really good. And I recommend it. It's just like nice to have random parameters, but then without like big like square wave like cut off kind of obviously if you take the smooth off, it's like each parameter just like shifts immediately, and if you don't have that attached to the grid of the track, it's going to be quite jarring when you're doing sound design. But yeah, so everything's either modulated by these macros or some things I just let run with an LFO. These are just like there's just distortion happening here. Here, like again, I use auto filter on the notch mode all the time, just because panning that through, sorry, using LFO to just change the frequency that the auto filter's at. It's just like, yeah, it's a great way to just add some kind of movement to the sound. These two are the same kind of thing, basically. Like Glitch 2 and Effectrix are just like these, like they've got like an internal sequencer, and I've got a whole knob dedicated to whether these are on or off. So that this macro, all this does is change whether these are actually, oh, not actually on or off, it's the mix, but yeah, because these have very like a kind of very jarring effect on the track. If I switch them off, so, yeah, if I switch these off, it's a lot more kind of standard. So like these two plugins are free if you pirate them, and they basically just have a sequencer, an internal sequencer, and a load of different effects stacked on top of each other. And you, whenever this is playing, like whenever this is like a MIDI note for that effect, I guess, and like for this section of the sequence, structure is going to be switched on. Oh shit, that's embarrassing. I downloaded this because of the Jennifer Walton stream. So yeah, it's sick. Shout outs to the All Center streams for making me a better producer. This stream is yeah, I would love some piracy sponsorships. There's a great piracy Discord if anyone wants to hit me up for the link. But yeah, so I yada yada glitch effects shit. Then I don't know. It's like a lot of the sound design process for like these kinds of sounds is just like, well, like random delay, send, shit, especially short delays, phasing, and there's not really much more to say. It's a random process. Like the the writing part of it comes from like curating those samples after. Oh yeah, don't talk about piracy. Sorry. Always looking. Oh yeah, just like curating this randomness later. So all I then do with this is like show in browser, rename it, whatever, and then drag it into whatever folder is relevant for it. But yeah, that's where all of these like these kind of crazy effects come, and you just like chop them out into a song later. Delete these as I go. This one, C minor sample. I don't know what it is. Oh, yeah. So this is what I tend to do on like pads, chord sounds. So again, this would be a resampling thing. So I wouldn't do this in the project. I would do this in a separate thing, and then save it as a sample, and then probably put like a chop of it in Simpler or Sampler and replay it, or just like find the loop of it. You know, like treat it as a sample. Like I'm just making samples for myself, I guess. But this, I guess, has like a more specific process. So this is just every 2 bars, there's a hit on this really simple wavetable patch. I normally use Serum, but I use wavetable because it's free, and I thought that would be more interesting. And they all do the same shit, let's be real. So this is like a really simple patch, just with some like modulation on the wavetable and the filter. No, not even the filter. It's just the filter's all the way open and submit. like I don't really want to filter at that stage because like it's for resampling and you can always filter sounds later. But if you're making a load of filtered sounds, it's like really frustrating. You don't come back to it and you want something brighter, and it's like 10 years ago, but you could have changed that. But yeah, so this is the this is the start, and then this first patch is just auto filters. So this first group of this first group is literally just loads of different auto filters, all on the notch mode. With a few of them might have, yeah, like this one has some distortion on it, but they're all just set to different positions, different LFO amounts, different LFO rates, and the big one is obviously different phase settings for the different filters. So they're like doing, they're filtering like the left and right channels differently, which adds really nice like random movement to it. The notch filter is like such a sick sound, such a sick thing. Oh, Phoebe, you've got to click the link earlier up in the chat for the audio movers link if you want Ableton sound. What's the thing? Yeah, so that's what I'm doing here. Then the serum is doing like, oh, again, yeah, this is one of the flange filters doing the same thing in serum, and this is the hyper dimension plugin. I'm not using the dimension thing. The hyper thing is just like a unison mode. So if I just like widening like kind of thing. Oh, and this LFO is just adjusting. This is just adjusting the cutoff of the filter, which is like doing like a flange thing. So it's not really filtering anything. I guess it's probably doing some additive stuff. But then, yeah, onwards, my favorite secret thing that people don't seem to use in Ableton is in Saturator. The wave shaper mode is amazing. All of these parameters, so like you have a few of them are active in different modes sometimes. I think maybe I made that up. But in wave shaping mode, they're not active apparently in any of the other modes. I thought they were. In wave shaping mode, all of these things come up, and you can basically like modulate all of these. So like if you leave these all at 0, you get like you get a flat line, whatever that means. But yeah, basically you can just do like this crazy like sort of distortion, sort of like additive, like it's really good. So what was like this before, you can make these really beautiful like crackly high frequency distortion things. Maybe turn the bass down. Oh man, yeah. The bass frequency, not like that. But this sounds great. You can obviously like blend it in with the original signal, but if you keep the period, you can't start again, and then like be a bit more subtle with that. It's yeah, it has that kind of like, it sort of sounds like you're using erosion again, but it's such a good effect. Like the wave, it's just the Ableton stock saturator wave shaper mode. It can be way more subtle than this, but it's more fun when it's not. It's so good. Just use this. fuck everything else I said, just use that. So yeah, like then I like filtered it down, obviously. Yeah, it just adds like such great like high frequency content. And then if you obviously like imagine that you're modulating it with an LFO or something like that, it's probably more interesting. But yeah, if you just like you stick this through a reverb or something, just like super lush. Sounds good. Is what it sounds like. So yeah, that's just from like these like really simple like this really simple pad, which sounds fine. It sounds good, I think. Like I would probably use both. I would probably layer them together or something like that. But yeah, like taking like a really simple sound and then like fucking it up completely, and then like layering that fucked up version on top of the original is super good. If I was gonna make a chain out of this, I'd probably like I'd probably obviously bring the release of the synths download, so it's more like a hit. But I would, yeah, like obviously it's kind of a pad at the moment. I think I've run over time-wise because I've been rambling about shit, but I'm just gonna carry on because I've got nowhere else to be. So thank you for coming if you've got to leave. But I'm gonna carry on. Is this enjoyable? Have people found it useful? Has it been full of shit? um, Taking notes. It's lovely. It's really nice to see you stand up. I appreciate all of you. I've had a really bad week, and this is fun because I just get to info dump on people um, about the thing. You're very frustrated. You can't hear me whilst fucking up sounds. Oh shit! Sorry, Taylor. Is like the is this? Am I talking too much over the sound of the stuff playing? Because I'll just pause more. That's my bad. I'll just try and pause and then talk rather than. Oh, maybe I got it wrong. Whatever. uh, yeah, I might keep this on. Actually, I like that chord. So I'm not going to delete that channel. But I will freeze it. Oh, Taylor. I get it. Um, you want me to be the voice in your head, like telling you how to telling you how to be. Um, I get it. I understand. Um, yeah. If you haven't heard Sarah's music, anyone in the channel, someone post it because it's fucking sick. And yeah, someone posted it, especially the like Lucy played Sarah's remix of one of my tracks that's coming out on Tower Bridge, and it's like insane. And pretty much every comment on the YouTube thing is just people being like, where the fuck is or like, give me the ID for this track, and it's all Taylor's track, and it's sick, and need to check out. There are sometimes Teo production streams over on CXD. I haven't seen one in a while, but it's true. And the I'm just in shout outs now, but the season 7 release is finally coming out soon. And I'm very excited to share it with all of you. It's a vinyl and digital release coming out with 3 tracks by me, 1 remix by Taya, and then 1 remix by Grove, who is another sick artist you should check out. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to the shit. It is a huge release, undeniable, huge release. So then like bass resampling. Let's start at the beginning again. So with bass stuff, I like getting like the shittest, like cheesiest. I like getting shittest, like cheesiest serum patches that I can find, and then just trying to tame them back down a bit into usable things. So stuff like that ends up more like like it can end up stuff like this. This is like quite a glitchy one. Again, this is a chain. You can see the original sample, like the original recording to 62 BPM. It gives you the note as well. You can just chop these out. And then like, yeah, resample or whatever. But then also just like more, something like, oh, Jesus. Shit like that, you know, like, but yeah, so the original hit is like this thing. And the first thing I'm gonna do is like filter. I'm gonna click off this. Yeah, I'm gonna filter out. Yeah, it's just the LFO on this filter. It's maybe a bit much. But like, so I don't like. Obviously, this is gonna like inform the end bass sound, but I don't want like. I'm not putting the filter on there as like a wobbly kind of bass sound. I'm doing it so that there's like different amounts of high frequency content are going into the processing chain rather than like I want the filter to go whoop whoop. It's more like I want the distortion that follows to have like different amounts of like high frequency content, different like and like a different like more gain going into it as well. So there's moments where the distortion's more intense, there's moments where it's less kind of thing. Again, this is just this is Wave Shaper, and I think this is why Wave Shaper really thrives and shines is like is on these bass sounds like, oh shit, I keep on forgetting the shit happening. But yeah, so like these kinds of things, I think Wave Shaper just like works so well. It gets really squelchy. It can go from like the most intense shit down to like really more mellow stuff. But again, like in the sound design sessions, I'm trying to get stuff with lots of like harmonic content because you can always filter it out. So yeah, that's the main thing. It's just all of the parameters were assigned to macros. I would do them on a controller probably, but I didn't because I thought I'd show you. But then I also used LFOs, which kind of seems obsolete now that I've just automated the macros, but that's the same shit. So on these LFOs, I guess the one distinction is I've not set the rate randomly. It's the rate is changing with each hit. So like each hit has like a distinct different wave shape, depth amount, and for each hit rather than like it changing over time. Just because like because why not, I guess. Then there's just an auto filter on it, which is again not filter. It's just nice to have like these kind of sweeps that are like bringing out a load in the mid range, or like when it's down low and then it sweeps up, and then like you'll get the bass like fade in because it's not being notched out anymore. And then yeah, obviously same as everything else, just like resample it here. Um, and you end up with a load of one shots. And I will often do that process like 3 or 4 times, just like, so I'll then take this chain and I'll put it through a new chain to resample, and I'll just like keep going. So let me try and find an example of that. Yeah, here's a perfect one. Like here. Oh shit. I don't know what I said. So like these are all the same sample. You can say you see they're the same length. So like this is me doing basically that, having the 1 MIDI note and then like sounds like it's got Seren's like hyperdimension thing on it, and probably the like flange filter as well, one of them going through it. But yeah, so like that's the original, and then I take that chain and then run it through a new chain. Wow, doesn't sound good. And then I take that chain and, or you know, it's not necessarily each subsequent one, but it's a completely different chain to run it through. And then this is the resonator one, run through some spectral plugin. Maybe I know I don't know what plugin that was running through, but it was running through something. Yeah, and so there's like loads of one shots that are all bass. Yeah, sounds cool. I get rid of that. But then the final thing to do was just like, it's fun to make things, try and make things more. It's fun to like try and make a bass sound, and then like halfway through decide like fuck a bass sound, let's make some percussion instead. So that's why I was doing it earlier when I was working on this project. So I thought I'll just like show you what that might look like. This time it looked like a shit ton of saturators. Yeah, fine. Like a lot of saturators. You can be more precise, but for the like for the purpose of demonstration, I'm actually just gonna like spam a shit ton of these. And don't duplicate the one that doesn't have any drive on it. That would be good. Like this. And if I resample like a little bit of this. Doesn't really matter what you make, but you get these sorts of things that have really nice waveforms that are like really using them. They're really fucked up, and they're really good. But what you can do with that is find a section. I might just flatten it now. I might consolidate it now. But like find a section that has like a load of warp markers, or a load of I'll do. Maybe I'll just I'll leave it at that. I'll make it 3 bars long. Um, I'll just consolidate it again. In the spirit of being distracted. But this is why I love beats mode most. So beats mode set to transients that play once and then stop is my favorite thing. I did it right at the start to just like as like a kind of gate or like transient shaper effect for the breaks. But if you do it on something like this, it'll take the sound from like a continuous sound and it will just play every time you see one of these little like water markers. It will just play like that tiny slice, and then the length of that will play once, it won't repeat, and the length of that slice is dictated by this thing. So what I tend to do is that, and then so I selected all of that with Control A or Command A on Mac, and then Command or Control U to quantize it to whatever quantize setting you've got. So whatever quantize setting you've got. So this is like 16th notes and 16th note triplets. And if I flatten this, you've got like a load of weird percussion kind of things. And you can start playing around with these. And keep resampling them, pitching them up, and shit like that. You can do this with anything. Like you didn't need to go through the whole process of like making like a real like with the bass thing. It wasn't really relevant that it was like a bass thing, but I just thought it was fun to run it through a load of saturators. So it's like you get really fucked. Yeah, so you get like really fucked waveforms, and then when you chop them down this small, but it's still the characteristics. The characteristics of that sound are still there, which maybe doesn't matter, but I feel like it's fun. But a better example is one that I made earlier. This, this thing, and I did the exact same thing. And I ended up with this. I think the melodic stuff comes from. Oh shit. The melodic stuff comes from like using this beats mode that is looping forwards and pitching up really high to get these kind of beats in there as well. So it's kind of like a melodic percussive thing going on, and then I just like sped it up. And it's like a kind of percussive thing. All I've done is put some reverb and delay on it. I think it sounds quite cool. But yeah, while I was making all of these example things, I kind of unmuted everything. It's something kind of cool. So I kind of ended up with this thing with like a really underwhelming drop. Oh shit! I froze it with the effects up. So yeah, that's obviously next EP that's going to be on there. But no, it does have a lot of like nice texture to it, which is what I'm always looking for. Has the classic Diessa riser. I realize that this particular hit is definitely in my latest EP, and this one is definitely in every EP. But yeah, there were a few questions. Something about how I organize shit, I think at one point. My folder structure for the stuff I've designed. You don't want to see that. But okay, this is my folder structure in general. I would change it, but it's too late for that. Because I know where everything is, even if it's organized badly. But you can kind of see it's like pretty self-explanatory. So like artist packs is like any like artist sample packs down here, like genre packs, so like a few specific genre things. Like it's all pretty self-explanatory. And then Roman I've like got massively trimmed down set of my own samples, which is my hardware stuff in the Digitone folder, which has very little at the moment. The 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 most recent like the most recent like resampling session that I did that I posted in the Discord is here, the 2021 samples one. And then the Kaiser samples thing is just is that, and then finally the Ableton resampling is like some really old ones that I never got around to sorting. But that's the basis of it. I know where all of those are. There aren't even that many samples in there anymore because I either moved them into their relevant things. So like the bass ones, I finally did chop and like put them in a bass thing, and like yeah, but like there are a few projects. I'm not actually sure what those folders are doing in there. But yeah, that's basically how it works. It's just like everything. These are kind of like interim folders, I guess. But I should sort these out another time. But I'm probably never gonna. I just use them as like a collective sound pool. None of the samples get attached to any particular project. Like they just become like a sample bank. So if I use the sample in a song, I'm not gonna like take it out of here. So a lot of stuff gets used multiple times, hopefully in different ways. But like, yeah, that's the basis of it, I guess. They're all chopped into here. I think that's about it. I could play the call center tracks if people wanted to hear them, and I can answer questions, and uh, you can uh, you can tip me as well on the link. I don't know what the link is because it's not my PayPal, but you can tip me. Um, but apart from that, like, thank you for coming. If you wanna hear the songs, you can. I'll probably just stick about and play them. But if there are no other questions, I don't know. PayPal. There we go. There's the PayPal link.
Yeah, everybody
Um,
hit that up if you have any comments there, please.
but yeah, I hope it was interesting, or you maybe learn one thing or a few things. Just destructively process everything. And I think that's good. But yeah, if there's no more questions, I will just play the. No, I can't even play the all center tracks, can I? Because I don't. Because they're not on this computer. I might be able to do something. Let me have a think. Might be able to play the tracks like unmixed because I'm having like issues with getting some of my Mac projects to open. And yeah, I'll link the release. Yeah, I can't fucking make the. I'm just gonna drag the mixes to the project, and then you can hear the mixed versions as well as like the versions that probably don't have the versions that don't have mixing. That was hard to say. Um, all the funds don't go to me. All center take a 50% cut that they contractually obligated me to not talk about, but here I am talking about it. Obviously, it's not true. Please give me money. It doesn't have half the shit in here. What a shame. Anyway. Because I gotta put the thing on it. I'm just gonna go back to the original project. I'll just play the tracks. Why did I choose PC after using Mac? Because I've got a fast PC. Because I play video games, and I was only using Mac because I had like a few live projects that I was using the Mac for, and then I am bad at video games, yeah. I never thought it was good. It was unnecessary. Yeah, I went back. I fucked my hard drive up, and it kept crashing my computer, and I didn't use it for ages, and then I eventually had the money to fix it, and I fixed it, and now I'm back. And I've got a massive CPU issue with Ableton 11 and NVIDIA GPU. There's like a known problem with it. So if anyone has a PC, yeah, I realized that, yeah, about the audio images thing. That's why I've gone back to this one. I think it should. Wait, log in, start. Okay, that should work now. Yeah, if you have a PC and you have a NVIDIA graphics card, there's problems with like CPU overload and there's like a glitch. So if anyone knows how to sort that, please fucking let me know, because I don't know how to sort it. But also, if you're thinking of upgrading, it might be a good shout to not do that. Yeah. Yeah, but I am bad at video games. Most of my video game experience recently has been screaming quite loudly whilst playing Escape from Tarkov, because I'm really bad at it. I'm really scared of everyone. But yeah, I can't show you the projects for the All Center EP, which feels like it defeats a significant portion of even playing them in the first place. But I am just going to drag them into this folder, and you can all just give me compliments on it. That's my plan. I'm going to play this one first because it's that. Make it louder. So yeah, this is the first track off the All Center stream, and you can obviously hear that kind of like textural resampling with the delays. It's like, is this intro section just completely sample? Okay. So I'm just doing that. There's a mixture of like a whole sample, like 8 bars that I'm looping, plus like using them as one shots at one point. The percussion that just came in is that vocoded percussion that I then like resampled to the like the kind of, it's quite varied, but that's what that is. Is that loud enough? I feel like it should be louder. I appreciate the jumping into the chat a lot. Again, the main vocal part, the main like synth part of this is just like a heavily resampled fucking sample thing. I can probably find half of these samples in here if we dig hard enough. if anything sticks out, feel free to ask how I made it. Trying it. Thank you, everyone, for being nice about that. That was the first track. Has breaks in it. It's fun. The second track, I'm not gonna play the whole thing because it's like 6 long. We can talk about the middle section of the second track because it's like a kind of interesting thing I did. Maybe I thought it was interesting, but I'm gonna like skip through this one a little bit more. But yeah, thank you for the beautiful dancing in the chat. Oh, yeah, I didn't play all the songs at once. And what so yeah, this one's kind of like a more rolling kind of track, and then this middle section here is like the whole thing just kind of falls apart for like a really gratuitously long minute and a half. It's like quite a functional track apart from that. But it was, I thought about shortening it, but it's good. So I didn't. But yeah, this song kind of like, it does this for me. It's like, you can hear, oh yeah, I guess a good point. Like, you can hear in the background the like percussion is obviously the vocoder percussion bit, and also all the synths on this, and I'm just like opening up the release to add like white noise to the first things, and all the synths on this track are also like they all have like white noise, like vocoder bit on them as well. played this whole thing. This section is basically me like grabbing a load of samples and like layering them on top of each other, and then like individually like putting them on different warping modes, and then like automating the tempo of the whole track. And I automated the tempo of the whole track, and then like resampled a few of them on their own, and then I resampled the whole track together, which gets you these like big like detuney. Like some of the samples are pitching down because of the warp mode. Some of them are just like stretching and stuff. Yeah, this one's pretty cool, obviously. But like the main thing, if I change this project tempo, the main kind of point of this is like it goes really weird and wonky and like out of time or whatever. It stops. But then I just took the whole resampled thing and just dragged that back into being 32 bars. So this 32 bar section here is like it stretches out loads and then like presses, and obviously like if you have that going on in a blend, then it would kind of fuck it up completely as soon as it dropped, and it would be a really awkward thing to have to mix back in. I often find that with tracks that do like tempo stuff is like you have to be aware that it's like completely out of sync with itself. Like so anything that was in time beforehand probably isn't anymore. But you can do as much as you want, but then you just like resample it or like warp it. Sorry, just warp the resample thing back to 32 bars, and it's still really functional. And it drops. So talented, just not at video games. Oh shit. I made my phone really loud and that. I'm sorry about it. But yeah, that's the tracks. They're coming out soon. I don't know. I've forgotten. June, July, sometime. Most of the techniques I showed today are in those tracks. All the synths in that. It's just one big sample chain. I didn't even bother to chop the sample chain in that one. I probably can literally find the sample in like 2 seconds. And that's the sample chain for the other track. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I think that's it. That's all good. I think we're all done. A treat. I only went over by 43 minutes. My timekeeping is always wonderful. Oh, thank you, everyone. It's very kind. I was never on a timer. Oh, I'm not worried. I've got a big enough ego that I'm happy to like. Yeah, I'm happy to just run over whenever I want. You're all on my time, realistically. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Tom, for organizing it. Oh shit. Tom has a remix of the first track on the EP as well. So you know that I've been thoroughly upstaged in the sound design department by that remix. And yeah, thank you, everyone, for coming. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and stop streaming. It's just my face. Where can we go?